Hey, my name is Jen and I am a product photographer turned Amazon seller. In this video today, I want to talk about all of the requirements that Amazon has on the images that you put on your product. It is absolutely critical to know what the guidelines are because you don't want your photos to get rejected by Amazon, and you definitely don't want to spend your hard-earned money on photos that aren't going to meet Amazon's requirements. So we're going to go through all of those details today in this video, so stay tuned. I'm just going to take you through this presentation on all of Amazon's guidelines here. So be sure to stay till the end. I do have a bonus for you. So the most important thing when it comes to Amazon requirements is you do want to make sure you have enough images on your listing. And Amazon does recommend 6 high quality images as well as at least 1 video. And they also do recommend to have 1 video on your listing because people do use videos quite often when they're doing their shopping. And you want these images to be clear, informative, attractive. You want them to be very nice and present your product in the best way possible. So the best way to do this is with high quality photography, whether you're doing that yourself or you're hiring someone to do that. You also want these images to accurately represent your product. So you don't want it to be a rendering of your product. It's better to have it be the actual product, especially when you can show these pictures in a real life setting so that people can really see what it looks like. Some other things to note are no nudity, sexually suggestive images, anything with trademarks or Amazon logos. And there are separate guidelines for clothing, accessories, and shoes. So refer to the Amazon guidelines on those. I'm not going to go over those today. These are just going to be for all of the other types of products. So the first and the most important image is your main image. This is the image that your potential customers are going to see first. So the most important thing here is it must show only the product that's for sale. So you can't add anything in the image that is not for sale. So you really want to ensure that this image has all of the components of your product. So if there are a bunch of accessories that come with your product, you want to show these as clearly as possible in this image. So you can either have a flat lay where everything is laid out perfectly or just have it on a white table. You do need to make sure that this image has a pure white background. So you cannot, just take a picture on a white background and then leave it as is. You actually have to remove that background and replace it with a pure white background. You are allowed to have, though, a little bit of a shadow for your product. So there are ways in Photoshop to maintain those shadows, but as for the background and what goes to the edge of the photo, it must be pure white. The product should also fill 85% of the frames. You don't want in your square photo the product to only take up like 50% of a square. You want it to fill up an 85% of that frame. So that is super important, and this is what Amazon recommends. Professional photos are recommended as well. I do believe that you can take professional pictures with your iPhone if you know what you're doing with lighting, and that is what I share a lot of information on this channel about. So go check out my other videos if you want to learn how to take professional photos either with your iPhone or with a professional camera if you're looking to get into that. You also cannot have any graphics, illustrations, or placeholders. And it's important to not have any text, logos, borders, color blocks, watermarks, or any sort of graphics over the product or even in the background. So just make sure that this is just literally a picture of your product exactly how it is and a pure white background. And the only other thing I would include is maybe a shadow. But other than that, that's it. Amazon also notes that you should not be showing multiple views of a single product. So you don't want to show the product multiple times at different angles. It can only be shown one time, and you don't want to show it inside of the packaging either. Some people will put the packaging or the box in the frame, but you don't want to leave your product inside of the packaging. You want to take it out and show what it looks like. And the final thing to note here with the main image is you should not have any human models sitting, kneeling, leaning, or lying down. The next part of the guidelines that we need to go over is additional images. So additional images are going to show how the product is used. So these are going to be what I would call lifestyle images, and they're going to show your product used in a lifestyle setting. So if you have something like a matcha tea, you're going to show pictures of a girl, preparing her matcha tea with her mug and some hot water, and you're actually going to show how the product's used. You also want to show your product in different environments. So if your product's able to be used in different environments, like let's say, for example, a coffee cup, you could use a coffee cup in your kitchen, in your living room, in your bedroom. And so you want to show it in different environments so people can get an idea of how the product is used. And you also want to show different angles. So this is a great time to show the product from multiple different angles, especially if it's an oddly shaped product or there's different features on different sides of the product. If you have a button on one side and you've got a handle on the other, you want to make sure to show all of those different angles. When you're selling on Amazon, it's a very competitive space. And so making sure that you can clearly communicate to your customer what makes your product different from all of the other sellers and all of the other similar products. That could be the size of the product, that could be additional features that no one else has, that could be the quality of the product. You really want to show why your product is different, and you want to tell the story with images. So all in all, these photos should help the customer get a better understanding of the product. And something to note here with these additional images, you can use graphics to tell a little bit more of a story. So you don't just have to show a picture of a girl, pouring her matcha tea in her kitchen. You can actually call out features and benefits in that photo with text. So you can use graphics, you can use text to really bring out that picture and highlight things that people wouldn't otherwise see or think about if you didn't write them in text form. So here's some of the technical details that are required for images. So for optimal zoom levels, and what that means is when someone's looking at the product on a desktop and they actually put their cursor over the product, it will zoom in so they can get more of a detailed view of that product, and they can do that with each of the images. So they do recommend that you have a minimum of 1600 pixels on the longest side of your image. So if you are hiring someone, just be sure to note that to them and, send them these details so that they can make sure that it's a high enough quality. You can obviously go higher. You could do 2000 pixels if you just want to have a little bit higher quality, but 1600 on the longest side minimum is recommended, and square images are preferred. So if you can create square images that are 1600 by 1600, this is going to be the optimal size. You also need to export these images at least 72 dots per inch. And this is something when you have a photographer who either works in Photoshop or in Lightroom, they can actually control this. For color, it should be RGB for web display and grayscale. And the files that Amazon accepts are JPEG, TIFF, and PNG, but JPEGs are preferred. All right, and now for my bonus here, I want to share with you the photos that I recommend you take for your product. These are some ideas of what you can use. You don't have to use all of these, but these are all really good photos you want to include in your product if you want to increase your conversion rate and make sure that you are really communicating to the customer that you have the best product. I recommend including a lot of infographics in your other images after the main image, and you want to show your features and benefits. Having one image that really highlights those is helpful. And then you also want to show the problem solved. So if your product shows a problem, if there's even like a before and an after, you really want to communicate that with images. One example would be like a hairspray. Imagine having a picture of a girl with very flat hair before, and then after she curls her hair and adds this hairspray, it's very voluminous and beautiful. You want to show that before and after. What kind of problem are you solving for your customer? You also want to highlight or call out any things that make your product significantly different. Having a picture that shows all the features of your product and having little arrows pointing to different features of the product so you can explain why yours is better, why your product's more ergonomic, why the handle is more reinforced, whatever it is, you want to show why your product is different. Social proof can also be very, very powerful in these images, and there are a number of ways you can do this. You can even call out how many customers, like we've had 10,000 happy customers. You can call out any press features. So if you've ever been featured in any sort of press, I would, put featured in and then the name of the press. Another way that you can do this is actually by getting influencers to take pictures with your product. So if your product's a lipstick, you get, 10 influencers to take a selfie with your product. And then what you can do is create a little collage of all those people holding your product. And it's very, very powerful to see all the people that look like your, target demographic holding your product. And from a consumer perspective, you look and go, oh, I want to be like that person. And so I want to buy the product now. Very, very powerful social proof. Another really important graphic that you want to include is a side-by-side comparison. So this is literally just a square photo that shows competitors, here's their features or the things that they don't have, and my product and all of the features that it has. So you want to show why yours is different from all the competitors. Something else you'll definitely want to include, especially if it's a smaller sized product, is a chart size or like a hand reference. So if you do have something like, a lipstick, you want to show it in the hand so they can see exactly how big it is. Any sort of product showing a hand reference. And if that doesn't make sense for your product, just get a picture of the product and draw some lines to show how many inches by how many inches it is so people can get an idea of how big it is. You can also call out here who this product is for and who it isn't for. And that's really just to drive home who your ideal customer is. I think including your brand story is very, very powerful. So if you do have a brand, let's say you have baby products and you had a child that had an issue and you created a product that solved a problem you had. You want to put your face on this picture and tell the story of why you started this brand. People love a great brand story, and there's not a ton of those on Amazon. And so doing something like that is incredibly helpful for conversions and getting people to love you, love your brand, and come back and buy from you. Don't forget, I have a free marketing checklist. Go check in the description. I've got a link there. Go download it. It has all of the steps that I take when I launch a product. So I don't miss any of these steps, and I swear by it. Every single one of these steps is absolutely critical to making sure that your product has the greatest success possible. If you are going to spend the time and the energy to launch a product, you want to make sure that it's going to go to the moon and get as many sales as possible. And so the way to do that is by really making sure that you are doing everything on the marketing side that you possibly can. My philosophy with Amazon FBA is there are a lot of sellers, but a lot of them are all doing the same thing. So if you just take a few extra steps to do a few things that the other people are not doing, you are going to see significant results from that. So I highly recommend you go check that out. It's going to help you to increase your click-through rate and increase your conversion rate. Please let me know if you have any questions about this video down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.